Are the Mariners running out of options? We'll answer that and more coming up here on Mailbag Monday. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, December 22nd, 2025. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Titan Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patnode. We're two lifelong Mariners fans who've been covering the team for over half a decade, and today we're going to open up the mailbag and answer some of your Mariners questions. Do here every single Monday. But before we do, I want to shout out our title sponsor today, FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Kicking us off here on Mailbag Monday is Colin, who wants to know, are the Mariners running out of pivots? They didn't get Polanco because the dollars got too high. They miss out on Brennan Donovan because the prospect haul is too much. And where will they go? Feels like they are running out of options quickly. There's been a lot of movement over the last few days. Brandon Lowe has finally been traded. He goes to the Pirates. Willson Contreras went to the Red Sox yesterday. Those were a couple of options maybe for the Mariners to address getting another bat into their lineup. Seems like in the end, the most important thing here is that the Mariners get a bat. The position that they play is kind of secondary, though they would like for that guy to play second or third base. And now that Lowe is off the board, the pivots to getting someone like that from Brennan Donovan or Ketel Marte are becoming few and far between, frankly. And Donovan, like, they've been connected to him for so long, but nothing has really moved forward on that front. Ketel Marte, those rumors haven't necessarily gone away, but given everything that's been reported about him and what the Diamondbacks are looking for, that doesn't seem very likely. So, yeah. What do they do after those two guys if they don't get either one of those guys? It's kind of the big question right now. Yeah. Their margin for error is definitely getting slimmer this winter, but I wouldn't say that it's necessarily time to panic. But the Mariners might have to expand their search a bit.
Yeah. The focus has been seemingly, just based on who they've been linked to, guys who can play second base are at least able to hit right-handed. They're switch hitters, the two main guys, Polo and Marte. And if that's all they're looking for, like they're not willing to expand, then yeah, they are going to run out of pivots here pretty quick. But if you are willing to expand and Hollander went on, I don't know, Bowden's show, I think.
This MLB weekend. Network. Or like MLB radio or whatever. Yeah. Whatever
it is. And you mentioned that, like, yeah, they would like the bat to be right-handed and all of that. So, if they really just want a guy to play second base, they're kind of running out of options right now. But again, if they're willing to expand it to a guy who could play some first, play some third, play some outfield, there are some other options. He mentioned Eugenio Suarez in his interview as well. He would certainly be, primary DH and then also play some first and some third. So that's still an option. Okamoto is another guy that we've kind of heard the Mariners are interested in. It's not really nationally being reported, but we've heard a little bit that they're kind of interested in him. So we'll see if there's a deal there. That's coming up in a couple weeks. He'll have to make his decision. So right after the new year. So that's a possibility there. And then my favorite guy right now is Ramon Laureano, who is available. The Padres have been shopping him around. He's only making, I think, $7 million this year. And he is a rental. You only get him for a year. But he's a right-handed hitter who had a great year last year. It's just, when he's in the field, when Cal Raleigh's going to DH, you're going to have to play him in right field, which, it's not like the Mariners have a juggernaut out there in right field. And, oh, by the way, if, on the days Raley is DHing, Luke Raley is probably needing to be on the bench anyways. And Laureano's a better offensive player than Victor Robles. So it kind of works out. So again, if they're focused only on he has to be able to play second base part of this, they're pretty much out of options. But if they're willing to expand it to first base, to DH, primarily the DH, but first base, third base, corner, outfield, there are a lot more options out there. And I think they're just going to have to expand it because I don't think Marte's happening. And I think Donovan is kind of in a separate category from all these other guys. I think their interest in Donovan is not connected whatsoever to adding the second bat. Like if they can get, like Laureano or whatever, I still think they're interested in Donovan. Even if they spend $20 million on their DH, Okamoto or whatever, I still think they're interested in Donovan. Like I think Donovan is so cheap money-wise, and they like the player so much that they are willing to just kind of add him in and figure out how to get everybody at bats later.
Yeah, so he just kind of feels like a bonus.
Right. And like he's not,
which is weird to say because he seems like the priority right now.
Right. But
it's like, because he's only making $5.4 million, it's like we can get him and we can also do like this, some other stuff on top of him as well.
When we had Divish on, he's like, oh, they could go a little bit above that. I think like
at 166. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they would go above for Donovan is like,
yeah,
they could be at like 170, right? They go a little bit above. And then in February, Bloom comes to his senses and he's like, oh, you know what? I'll trade you Donovan. I think they'll pull the trigger on that. I think they'll add more payroll to add Donovan because it's so little and he provides enough value. So he's kind of in a separate camp to all these pivots, I think. But if they're willing to expand beyond he has to be able to play second base thing, there still are options. But yeah, obviously there's fewer options than there were last week. That's how it goes. So be nice if they could get on that because they haven't done a major offensive acquisition in the last month.
All right. Ian wants to know, and this kind of just continues our conversation here, Okamoto or Gino? Okamoto is a pretty big unknown, and Gino is known to be unable to hit at T-Mobile with worse defense. Assuming their contract is similar, who would you prefer?
I don't know that Gino has worse defense.
I don't really like. It's hard for us to say anything about Okamoto's defense other than just what we've read.
Well, like I know he's won a couple Gold Gloves over there, but I've also read that he's below average at third and should probably only play first. And, Gino's probably fringe average at third. So, like, if anything, I would look at it and say that's probably a wash, at least, just based on the information I have. And I've seen a lot of Gino playing third base. I haven't seen any of Okamoto, but the spirit of the question is like, would you rather have Okamoto, the unknown, or Gino, the known, who's, all with what we know his red flags are?
Yeah.
Assuming the contracts are like roughly equivalent, like similar AAVs at least, I'd rather have Gino, I think, just because I am highly skeptical of, your big offseason acquisition being such an unproven player. And I like Okamoto. I think he's going to hit. Like, I think he'll be pretty good. But do I want to bank on that? I don't know. So, if it's above like a 3-year deal, or if it's 3-year deal or more, I'd probably take the shot on Okamoto. But if it's just would I rather have in 2026, I'd probably take Gino. And again, because the Mariners are in their, win now contention mode, 2026 is the most important year. And so I'd probably give the edge to Gino. But yeah, that's a good question. It's kind of a toss-up.
Gino was just so bad at T-Mobile Park after the trade deadline, but he was actually pretty good on the road. And at the very least, I feel like I can bank on that. Whereas with the Okamoto, I can't really bank on anything because I just don't know how he's going to translate to Major League Baseball. I think eventually he will hit, but is that going to take a year? Is that going to take half a year? Is that going to take 2 years? Like,
right.
How long am I going to have to wait for him to finally turn that corner and get adjusted to Major League pitching?
It's not like Kim, who came over and struggled in year one, but he was so good defense. Like, you could bank on the defense. Like, you can't bank on anything.
He has to hit. He has to.
Yeah. And like, again, Seiya Suzuki came over and hit right away. And I think the two bats are pretty similar in terms of profile, Okamoto and Seiya Suzuki. And he was pretty good in year one. Wasn't as good, but he was still pretty good. So could Okamoto do that? Sure. Do I want to bank on that? Not really.
Now, if the tools, the offensive tools translate fairly well to the majors immediately, Okamoto is a better fit for what the Mariners just typically look for in their bats.
Yeah. But I mean, Gino's got the history. He's got the clubhouse. I don't. 1 year, $15 million. Who are you giving it to?
Gino.
Yeah. 2 years, $30 million. Who are you giving it to?
Gino. I think anything
3.
beyond that, it's Okamoto.
Yeah. I think that's probably where I'm at too, but I think it's a legit toss up. I just, again, the way I would build a team, specifically where the Mariners are in their window, I would like the more proven asset. Because again, it's not like Okamoto's 26, so you're going to get him for a long.
No,
like
he's
29, 30. Yeah, I mean, he is younger, but still, it's
he'll
not,
turn 30 in June.
Right. So like technically his age 30 season, but who cares really? The point is that like there's probably not another gear. You're getting a guy who's kind of exiting his prime. Still probably has a couple good prime years left, but you're getting a guy who's exiting his athletic prime. Gino's already exited it, but it's not like you're getting this tremendous upside guy in Okamoto. I don't think, at least.
No, you're really hoping that he pops immediately.
You're kind of paying for floor, but we don't know what the floor is.
All right. We will answer more of your questions in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is once again brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment as live spreads and money lines adjust instantly and player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Mariners with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month. Or $50 a year. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Getting back into your questions here on Mailbag Monday, Jeff wants to know, with some DFAs going on the last 3 days, which player would be the pick of the litter?
Justyn-Henry, Malloy. Kind of, the inverse of Dom Canzone. Not a great defender, but has tremendous success in the high minors, crushes left-handed pitching. He'd be interesting, and he has 2 options left. So I think that's a guy who, you claim, you stash in AAA, and if Victor gets hurt a little bit, or if anybody in the outfield gets hurt, you have a guy who can come up and at least hit lefties. Like there's at least a skill set there. He's got a little bit of major league seasoning, but again, tremendous amount of success in AAA, and he has 2 options left. So he's the guy that jumped out immediately to me, and I think he's a pretty decent fit. And obviously having the options is huge. That's why I've mentioned it 3 times. I think that feels like a Jerry guy too. He's a high production, 25, 26-year-old, 27-year-old guy. I don't think he was ever like a top prospect, but he was, fairly well-respected prospect, for a lot of years. And he has a floor of a skill that you can kind of count on. So he'd be the guy of everybody DFA that I would be the most interested in. Just offers more flexibility roster-wise.
Yeah, Wade Meckler got DFA'd as well. He's the guy that's, another minors performer. Had a cup of coffee a couple of years ago in the majors, but hasn't gotten back there since. Yeah, it's pretty much that. So I don't know. There isn't too much that I saw that I'm like super interested in. The Malloy call is fine. Like if they wanted to take a shot there, that's cool. Especially because he has a couple options left. That'd be fine. Alex wants to know, I remembered Ryan Bliss is doing a good job at second base before he got hurt, but then I looked at the numbers, 76 WRC plus. Is he going to come back from his injuries for this season? Does he have a future with the club? Does he have any trade value? It's a lot of questions. I mean, that 76 WRC plus came in what, like a week? So like
it was like 12 days or something. And you probably remember him doing pretty well because he made a lot of really good defensive plays. And he had a couple of good moments on the bases. But
he hit a double with a torn pec.
Yeah, he also made the diving catch to save the game with the same torn pec. Yeah, really bad year for Bliss because he really had an opportunity to kind of establish himself as like the Dylan Moore replacement to some degree, and unfortunately, injuries suck. As far as I know, he's going to be ready for spring training, and he's going to be in the mix for a major league spot on the bench probably, but so he'll probably be ready. He'll probably be competing for a spot. Does he have trade value? No. Maybe as a throw in, but no. What was the other of the four questions in there? Does he have trade value? No. Is he going to be ready? Is he going to be healthy? He has a shot to make the club out of spring training.
Yeah, like he'll be competing with Leo Rivas and them, and we'll see what else they add to the roster and all that. Or how that might push some guys down.
He's got a couple options left though. We know that he's he's a fun player. He certainly has tools. But unfortunately for him, the injuries couldn't have come at a worse time because he really did have an opportunity to, carve out at least a prominent bench role for this team for the next couple of years. But, again, got hurt, probably got passed up by Rivas on the depth chart. Williamson jumped ahead of him, and obviously Cole Young's now ready. The Mariners clearly think Emerson is ready or pretty close to it. Like, there's just not going to be a lot of playing time for him. And it's kind of hard to learn a new position, like maybe learn how to play some outfield so you could be a true utility guy. Kind of hard to do that when you're rehabbing off of two major injuries. So, I don't really have any expectation for him in 2026, but he'll have a shot to make the club, I think, as like the 26th guy because, he does have pop. He does steal some bases. He's a pretty good base runner. He's good athlete. He has good range. He just can't really throw the ball. So it kind of limits him to second base or left field. So I like Ryan Bliss. It's just, I don't see much of a future here in Seattle, unfortunately for him.
Yeah. Actually it was a bicep tear, not pec, but, and then he tore the meniscus in his right knee.
Rehab.
And so, and this is a guy that's obviously very dependent on speed. And so how is that, working his way back from that? How is that going to impact, one of the bigger parts of his game, at least, to start? So, I would say it's an outside shot right now for him to make the club. But he'll be around, and, he's probably one of the first guys in line, like if an injury happens at the major league club, for him to get called up.
He's quality depth.
Yeah.
Like he does enough that he has enough of a floor with the speed and the defense and all that, and the pop. He's got enough of a floor that he's quality guy to have around. I don't think he's going to carve out any kind of long-term role for himself, unfortunately. I think last year was his opportunity to do that. And, maybe he plays well enough to, be this team's Blaze Alexander, and maybe that's the role he can carve out for himself. But right now it's kind of hard to see.
All right, we'll answer a couple more of your questions in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Gametime. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Gametime app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Gametime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Pull up the app, and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. Pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. Prices include fees up front, which I love because there are no last second surprises at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, game time. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, we talk Seahawks, talk all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. Byron wants to know thoughts on Paul Goldschmidt's fit. He hit .336 against lefties last year with a 169 nice WRC plus. Can make sense as a complement to the potential addition of Donovan. He could DH and back up Naylor. Not a bad thought. I would prefer Okamoto, but Goldie is projected to earn 1 year $8 to $12 million. I can tell you if he's making $8 to $12 million, the Mariners are not going to sign him. Not to be a weak side platoon backup first base
only. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Justin and Jerry have kind of talked about like, hey, we need to find somebody who can play first base. Backup. Naylor at first base. That doesn't mean they're going to sign a first baseman. They just need to find somebody who can play first base if needed. Remember, Polo was working there last year. Chino worked there last year.
Like they might acquire a first baseman if he can be an everyday DH.
Right.
But Goldie can't be an everyday DH. He was 74 WRC plus against righties last year. He was terrible in the second half.
Yeah. I like that Byron gave himself some credit there. Not a bad thought. I was like, not a great thought. Yeah. Let me know if you need an ambulance called for you there, Byron. But no, like I don't think the roster that the Mariners have right now, it makes really any sense to bring on Goldschmidt. Like if you're going to bring in a guy solely to hit lefties, then you just bring in Refsnyder or Miguel Andujar, and those guys can actually play somewhere other than first base, while also probably being able to play first base. So Goldschmidt is a guy right now that's kind of living off of the name reputation. He probably has a job next year because, I mean, again, there are teams out there who are just going to need a first baseman. It doesn't hurt that, Goldschmidt's a Hall of Famer and that he at least has a role that he can still do. Remember Albert Pujols at the end? Like he could still crush left-handed pitching and he found a role. He found, jobs and honestly, Goldschmidt might go back to Arizona to be a platoon bat there. He could go back to St. Louis, honestly, and be a platoon with Burleson if they really are that desperate. So I just don't think the Mariners, it makes much sense because Naylor is going to play every day, even against lefties, because he's good enough against them that you don't have to put him on the bench. And so for that reason, you want the primary DH to be a guy who can hit right-handed pitching because that's who he's primarily going to be facing. Because, probably what's going to happen, most of Cal Raleigh's DH days are going to come against left-handed pitching. So you're going to put Naylor on the bench for Goldschmidt, 38-year-old Goldschmidt to hit. I just don't see it. I think the idea of getting that, lefty masher, fine. I think that's a good idea. And we've talked a little bit about that. I don't think it can be a first base only though.
No. And it's not going to be for anything more than I think $3 to $4 million.
Yeah. I could see Goldschmidt getting 6 or 7 this year, 5 or 6, whatever, but the Mariners aren't going to be the team that give it to him. All right. Yeah. That's just my go-to number range, guys. Okay. But the Mariners aren't going to be the team that give it to them.
There's someone in the comments who thinks they have you figured out.
Yeah. Okay.
You've been running this long con every single episode, sneaking in there.
I've been the 6'7" guy long before it was a meme, apparently. But the Mariners aren't going to be the team that gives them that. So
no,
it's like the thought process is fine, but the player is wrong. You need to pick a different player to fill this role.
Yeah,
I like Andujar or Refsnyder.
Yeah. The only way that I could see them giving $7-ish million for, see how I worked around it, for a weak side platoon bat would be Refsnyder or Andujar, someone that could play third base and corner outfield.
Right.
like Andujar. Andujar would be my preference of the two, frankly. I know a lot of people go to Refsnyder, which that would be fine. Like he mashes lefties, but I like
If he had
Andujar
a
a bit
little
more.
more recent infield experience, I would prefer Refsnyder too.
Yeah.
Like Andujar can stand at third. I'm not saying he's very good there, but he can stand there.
No. But like if I like I need to make it work. I need to make the lineup work. Like
Plus, you probably trust Andujar a little more against righties than you do Refsnyder too. On like the days where you just needed him to play, regardless of who's on the mound.
Andujar was super underrated last year or this year.
Very good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Crushed lefties, and he was pretty good against righties too. So I think
he was really good when he got to Cincinnati too.
Yep.
The last question of the day comes from Ross. Any updated thoughts on extension candidates this offseason? Not really. Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Logan Gilbert, number one, because you're running up against the clock on him.
They're not going to extend JP. They're not going to extend Randy.
Yeah, it's to me, like I think like number two is either George Kirby or Brian Lowe.
Maybe Matt Brash.
Yeah. There's like some of like the lower key like extensions.
Honestly, like Gilbert should be the priority, but like if we're laying odds on who is the most likely to sign an extension this winter, I think Colt Emerson might be number one.
Yeah, Gabe Spire would be cool. We were actually mistaken on Friday. We said that he has 4 years left of club control. He only has 2.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Spire would be a good one. But yeah, like in terms of most likely, honestly, I think it's one of the kids. I think it's Emerson. Maybe it's Cole Young. I think that's more likely. Lock them in, cost control for a long time. But yeah, Gilbert. I mean, if you're Logan Gilbert, you're like, okay, I want what Dylan Cease got. It's not much incentive for the Mariners to do that right now. So yeah, I don't think Kirby's all that interested. So again, JP, it makes no sense to give him an extension. Randy, considering how bad the free agent class is next year for hitters, at least pitching, it's very good. Offensively, it's a bad free agent class. He's not going to take an extension right now. And I honestly don't know if I want the Mariners to offer him one. So yeah, it's, Brash, Spire, and then probably the kids. And obviously Logan should be the main priority, but I don't know if there's much incentive for Logan to sign right now, unless he's actually very concerned about his elbow. So maybe.
Yeah.
But
maybe. Yeah. Or if he really just does want to stay in Seattle and just get it over with.
Yeah. But I think the Dylan Cease thing probably changed the tenor of those talks. Because Logan Gilbert is every bit as good as Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. But, keep an eye out for one of the kids or a bullpen arm. But I don't know. I'm not really getting a feel that they're going to ink any kind of extension this winter, but we'll see.
All right. That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.